Well, thank you. Now, those are some great towns, don't you think, Billy?
Yes, Cousin John.
You never cease to amaze me, Billy. What do you say we bring out our first guest?
That's a good idea, Cousin John. Who is our guest today?
Well, you know old Clarice there, she does that little segment, Hidden Away and Not Forgotten. Well, she was traveling around southern Minnesota, and the other day she come and basically kicked the door in on my office. She was just all beside herself, telling me about this guy that we had to have for our first guest. She was up in Renville County, a little town of Morton, and she told me about this guy, and once I heard his story, I decided that needed to be our first guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Max Prinzing. Thanks, Max. All right. Well, Max, hey, we're really glad you could join us here. They tell me that you've got a manufacturing company that's called PRINZING Motor Cars.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
What is it that you manufacture?
Well, we manufacture classic-style automobiles with the 1930s and 40s look with modern running gear.
Wow. Tell me, how did you get started in the business?
Well, I had a 70-acre farm in Winthrop, Minnesota, and just had crops. I didn't have animals. So I always wanted a classic car. I wanted a Duesenberg like my grandfather had.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, they're $1 million plus today.
Right.
So, well, one winter, out in the machine shed, I decided to make one. And I wanted a Rolls-Royce-style grill and a Duesenberg-type body and Packard-style hood vents. So it took about 6 months to sculpt it and 42 gallons of plaster of Paris.
Oh.
And then you make the die mold off from that. It was 5 pieces. We had to cut it in 5 pieces and then bolt it back together and wax it with a beeswax and make the Kevlar body. I use Kevlar because it's stronger than steel and it won't rust.
Right.
And it's a catalyzed process. You pull it, and pour it, and roll it in there cold, and when you pour it, you add the catalyst to it, and that heats it up over a period of 10 hours, and it cures, and next morning you unbolt the mold, and you've got the car body.
Wow. That's good.
Well, tell me, Max, who are some of the more famous people that you've made a Prinzing car for?
Well, we've made a car for singer Neil Diamond and John Denver. And, of course, Denver was from Mankato. He went to Mankato State.
Right.
And he married a girl there. I think her folks' name was Martel. They had the Holiday House in St. Peter.
That's right.
Yeah, Ann was her name. And, of course, I was a member of the Holiday House Club there. And he had said he wanted to look at one of my automobiles at buying one. So when he came, I had, to a little town where we were at, I had moved the factory location to another town, a larger location. And I had a little paper there taped on the door that we had moved, but it had blown away. And in that little town, the high school kids and junior high school kids can come home for lunch for a half hour because it's only about 6 blocks wide. So it was about noon, and he couldn't find us, so he went across the street to a house there, and a 15-year-old girl answered the door, and of course, he had a chauffeur-driven limo. He'd flown in his own jet. He was coming back for Thanksgiving to visit the folks. And anyway, he said, "You look just like John Denver." Yeah, he said, "That's who I am." So he went out to the limo and got a picture and autographed it for her. And she went back to school and showed it to all the kids, that she had met John Denver. And he bought a blue car with a rumble seat and extra fuel capacity.
So, well, where have some of your cars been shipped to?
Well, we've shipped cars to Switzerland, to Russia, to France, and all over the United States, Hawaii, and so on. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Which one of your cars is your favorite?
Well, I like the Spirit of Minnesota. I built that in 1978. That was the first 100% ethanol-powered car built in the United States. And Of course, I drove it 6,000 miles across the United States, and Senator Rudy Boschwitz, he drove it 6 blocks, and the Washington Post newspaper came out and took his picture. What I like about the ethanol, of course, is that it's homegrown in America, and it takes 280 million acres to take care of all the gasoline-powered vehicles in America to have them run on ethanol. We have 500 million acres that won't grow crops. It's too rocky and so on, but poplar trees will grow there, so you can make wood alcohol out of poplar trees in all 50 states. So we really have no need for imported oil. We could take care of ourselves. And I just wanted to prove it to people, to show them that it could be done. And today all of our vehicles run on 100% ethanol or gasoline or any combination of the two.
Anything in between, so not just the E85 or anything, just 99.1 or 100%, doesn't matter.
Yep. And we have sensors in the fuel tank that go to the computer because we have a modern drivetrain, even though the car looks, classic.
Sure.
And it'll just keep running. All you got to do is put the key in and go, And I think we're the only car company in the U.S. that has that standard. It's not an option. That's the only way you can buy it is with a multi-fuel engine.
So what type of cars are you building now?
Well, now we're building professional cars for the wedding and the funeral industry and special occasions, limousines and hearses and so on. And, we built the first art carved panel hearse since 1941 when the war broke out. They quit building cars. Yeah. And it's, I guess, the first one in 68 years. We delivered that to Arkansas. Mm-hmm. The art carved panel was carved out of wood, which I did, but then we made a casting and made the sides out of Kevlar, and that's, they make bullet-resistant vests out of Kevlar.
It'll be a little easier to maintain and last a little longer than the wood.
Yeah, last a lifetime. Yep.
So, Max, if the folks want to learn more about your business and about your cars, do you have a website you could go to or something like that?
Holy crap, Earl! That's a good question.
Yeah, we do. It's www.prinzingmc.com. And take a look at it and see what you think, and click us an email, your comments, if you will. We appreciate that.
Well, that's great. Well, that looks like all the time we got today. Max, really like to thank you for stopping by and being with us today.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting both of you. And I especially enjoyed visiting with your field reporter, Clarice.
Yeah, Max, I really like her too. And don't you think maybe we should see another report from her?
Earl, that's another good idea. Let's join Clarice right now for a Hidden Away, Not Forgotten.